I heard you want to talk some shit, bruh. Let's talk some shit. Now, I've had these for a while. Kicking them around, like, I want to do a review. This is so simple, and people aren't going to understand the usefulness of it. These are the Schiit sis. This is a Schiit sis here, and this is a Schiit sis here. And the reason I have two is because, I don't know why, but Amazon double ordered when I clicked it. I got two, and I'm like, oh, I got to return one of these, and then I didn't, and now I'm glad I didn't. It's a preamp with dual source switching. It's basic. Here, look at the back. It's got an in and two outs, or an out and two ins. Those are your choices. It'll go either way, bidirectional. Here's a clicky for which one you want, and then there is a gain control. And here's a Sescom AB, the one I had been using, and I will still use this, but this is just a switch. Two sources in, one output, or one source in and two outputs, and you pick which one. But when this, first of all, both of these are expensive. This is 60, this is like 34 or something. And they're much, much cheaper. In fact, I have one so cheap that I don't even bother picking it up off the floor for weeks. Oh, God. This one was like $8, and I will not buy an $8 AB switch again because it acts like an $8. Oh, this wouldn't even pass as a child's toy with the plastic it's made out of. And of course, it's got the video. If you're gonna find a cheap one, it's gonna have video and audio pass through. And it's basically just a switch, and there's a little. And that can work. It does work. It just, sometimes the channels don't work, and it's like, So high quality ones, because I'm not going to mess around with shit here. I am messing around with shit here. But high quality ones, like the Sescom here, American made. Like, that doesn't matter, honestly. If you could find a really good Chinese one, it'll probably work just fine. But, so this is great for just, you've got one DAC and 2 amps. And for some reason you don't want to use a splitter. Of course, if you have a DAC, here's the Pro, or here's my Emotiva. Emotiva's got a splitter on the back of it for RCAs. Here's a set of the RCAs here, here's a set of the RCAs there. No switching, it's just outputting to both. I'll link to some high quality RCA splitters. The benefit of a preamp and a switch is when you can block things from, it's combining things. So, having a DAC output to 2 different amps, you could just plug it into 2 different amps with a splitter. It's when you have 2 different playing sources that you want to have one output. So, let's say you've got a DAC, and let's say you've got the other one is just your iPod with the adapter wire, or 2 different DACs, or something on your game console, or something else. And then let's put this equation in there. What if you have powered monitors? You see, this gain knob here basically makes this box the same as this Emotiva Control Freak, which I still have. Here's my, look how well that just like retracts, and I can control volume on foobar through the speaker. All right, so basically this, which I love, and I have, is replaced by this, and this also has multiple inputs. Now, granted, the convenience of having just a thin cable and a knob versus all your cables coming here and then a little, I don't like, it's so low, but this is obviously for the factor, and this is for the I need to actually have it work factor. I'll tell you what the 2 of them currently are doing. This is my preamp corner for my phono turntable. I have a turntable. I believe it was time. I've had enough speakers. I've passed all the courses. My beard started growing. Time to buy a turntable and go all hipster. Yeah, right. We'll get to that. But this is the Schiit Manny preamp, and that is the Emotiva XPS1 preamp. And those in the middle don't even count. Those are just things. But this, what it is doing, is the phono turntable is splitting, feeding into that and that. both preamps are amping, and both preamps are feeding into this sys. And then this sys can pick. Obviously, I leave the volume at full. I could replace it with a Sescom, or if I really wanted to be just that guy, an $8 AV splitter. But it's going into the sys and then outputting and then going through the wall and into my Tascam receiver so I can listen to vinyl out here. So vinyl player in my bedroom, preamps in the other bedroom, listen out here. So that's one particular use, and I can actually lower, if it's playing, I could just lower the volume. So that's sort of like the, I don't need it to be this, but it's this. It could be either one of these, but it's that. Here, however, here is where things get really interesting. That giant black box, you recognize it? No, you probably can't. Got its cover on, it's all covered in things, hiding. That's the Rhythmic 15, which is now living with me permanently, because how could I let it go? And what this sys is doing is my Emotiva here feeds out to my A500 via XLR, which is controlled by cats puking somewhere. I hear it. The XLR. And the RCA outputs feed the sys. And then over here on the quote-unquote temporary 4K experience, Zeos 4K experience, we've got the TAC, USB DAC amplifier, which is powering the JBLs. And this has a subwoofer out, a single channel subwoofer out. So I had it hooked up to the Rhythmic, and that was great. But then I realized I'm doing a lot of speaker testing here, so I want to use the Rhythmic sub here also. And you can't use a splitter, because then if both sources play, then you got twice bad. Bad things happen. And I could have used just this switch, like this, and been like, all right, now this is feeding it, and now this is feeding it. But guess where the volume control is for the sub? It's behind the sub. That bad. So what the sys here does, it lets me pick a source. Wait for it. So there's Hugh Laurie belting out of that. So it's again, and I'm back to the dual volume controls, one for speakers, one for sub, which I actually prefer because I'm a fucking tweak freak. But pick it up, shake it like Stephen Chain. And now there's no sub. And now there's a sub. And now there's no sub. And their businesses are open downstairs, and they definitely understand that I'm testing a subwoofer. But now I want, so here's Hugh Laurie. And now here's Ant-Man. So I flip switch. That feeds out into this splitter, because I am using both inputs. You really got to be cautious when you're doing things, that if you're going to use a splitter, you're not also acting as a combiner, because if this wasn't a switch, if this was just another set of splitters and it was all messed up, the left and right outputs of that would come and then touch each other, and then it would be all ruined. Then these speakers would be in mono and it would throw back feedback. Terrible. But right now, flip it in. Could adjust the gain to, oh shit, to nothing, which I really can't let it loose because the sun is still out. When the sun goes away, Zeos can play. The sun's still out, so I can't. So now I get to control. I have the gain on this set to like 3/4, and then I just dial in how much I want. Now, as opposed to this setup here with the amp on a separate control volume, this has a volume knob right here. So I set this till it's balanced, until the subwoofer and the speakers are balanced, so that I can just control the volume there, or with the remote. This TX is awesome, by the way. We'll get to it. So skip ahead.
In this case,
boom. Lower, lower, and we're all good. Now, the only thing that really irked me about this, other than the price being, you know, the $60 because it's made in America, is the indicator on the knob. Now, I've actually worn it off, but I actually just got a Sharpie and drew a line, because there's just the smallest little fucking doodad cut right there. Right there. And that's it. And you can't, for the life of me, tell me that is defined enough. Alright. Switch back to Hugh Laurie. Oh, White Zombie. Quiet Butter White Zombie. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's when the police come. Alright, that's not knob. This box is going to be labeled probably permanently. If I don't keep this sub in here, it'll be a smaller sub, which it probably should be a smaller sub. And this will be just a subwoofer switch box. And I could pick. Now, so yeah, imagine this wasn't a subwoofer. Imagine this was powered monitors. The JBL 305s, the Airmotive 5s or 6s sitting up here. Again, Control Freak love, but is out of stock usually. This is the XLR one. The XLR one is good for me personally because I have XLR out on this. Most powered monitors I put here have the XLR inputs and I just use that. But if it's RCA, and you can, again, RCA or TRS adapters, then you could buy one of these. You can feed your, here's how it would work. Here's probably what the shit is intending the use of this. Modi, Magni, Sys, powered monitors. So you would have the Modi DAC feed in. You'd have the two outputs, one to the Magni headphone amp and one to powered monitors. And then you would just switch. Now the problem with that is that when you're on the Magni headphone amp, you've got to raise the volume all the way. And then when you switch to powered speakers, you fucking better lower it. So in that certain situation, I would actually probably recommend just getting a splitter, because again, if you've got a single source, you can use a splitter. When you have two sources and you're trying to combine them, then you gotta get one of these. But my point is, this was $60, this is $60. This is usually available and is a nice little box, and this sort of like, you have to have the desire to have the knob. Everyone wants the knob. Everyone wants that knob, bruh. And I forget which one in and out is which. I think, yeah, actually an indicator. So out is that input, and in is this input, I think. No, wait. I can't tell. Wait. Alright. Let's see. So out is this. So what? It's not even indicated properly. And that's a terrible thing, that little like down and up. It should show like this side is out. Or it should say 1 and 2 and out is 1. I don't know. They can't do it. White Zombie. Terminator soundtrack. Absolutely no bass. The original Terminator. God, nothing's coming up. Well, almost nothing. Little Shop of Horrors. Jesus, this is just... Boom. Oh, firework recordings. Excellent. Speakers up. Live concert. So yeah, this is basically a rundown of a couple... This is the only one that's really a preamp because it has a volume knob. Back in the day, back in the old days, you used to have power amps. Like, imagine that Behringer without those knobs. Just take them off and have it just be power every time. And then you'd need a preamp. But now they all come with the knobs, so usually it isn't the case. But these are just switches. This is just a shitty, cheap switch, and this is a very nice, expensive switch. I don't even know if I'll link to this one. Maybe I'll link to this one, because it did function. It just has... Ugh. So powered monitors, yes. This awesome sub-switching system I got going on right now is a yes. It's not really required for something like testing. For testing, look, I'm a tester. I have to test everything. So that works well. Lower down the gains and switch it and lower down. See how it whatever. Point is, I could cross this off my list, and now I have a reason to have two, and no one can argue about it ever.